Hey guys, RJ here, and on the 6th episode of 13 Reasons Why, I stop asking the question, is the next episode going to be better than the previous? Because the answer always seems to be yes. If you guys haven't been here before, I do this in all my videos. If you have not seen episode 6 of 13 Reasons Why, please turn off this review, go watch it, and then come back. I don't want to spoil anything in this show. So tape 3, side B belongs to Sir Marcus. And man, he definitely came off as what I thought would be a decent human being in some of the previous episodes. Yeah, he hangs out with the popular kids and stuff, but I was like, okay, maybe this guy might be all right. And I don't know what he could do wrong to Hannah. At least it seems like he cares about his grades and his stature more than anything. But as we learn throughout this episode, that is not the only thing that drives Marcus to do what he does. We open with this scene where Alex is crossing the street near school, and then Foley and a bunch of his boys ride up in this Jeep, almost hit him. They're speeding down the lane, which I'm sure tons of kids did in high school. I know I did, which God, I was so stupid. But yeah, he almost gets hit by the car, but then Alex decides to freak out a ton. He goes over and threatens him, makes him get out of the car. And then this fight happens basically in front of all of these kids of their school. And of course, they're all standing there with their cell phones out, just taking photos. I never saw a real fight in high school in general, at our school. So I don't know what this is like. I don't know what I would have done, but I feel like it's just super weird mentality that there are all these people in a ring around these two people just beating each other bloody. Well, actually, it's more of just Alex getting his ass kicked. Obviously, everyone that is on the tapes is super worried about this happening because it's out in front of school, and it's obviously just going to draw more attention to each other. And I mean, they're clearly trying to lay low at this point, which I think is the best bet. Clearly, Alex is not on board with that. And I think we should look into the character of Alex for this. I think he's more trying to punish himself, right? He almost drowned himself in his episode for the pool, and I think he really just challenges this kid because he wants to get the shit beat out of him. He feels like he deserves it, and I mean, he might not be wrong on that end, but yeah, I think the way he looks at his blood after he gets hit and then gets back up to ask for more, even though it's a fight he knows he can't win. I think it's just him lashing out, asking for someone to provide punishment for him because he knows he did something wrong. I love the premise of this episode. It's Valentine's Day. The school is doing this, dollar Valentine thing. And it's really just these kids fill out these forms and then they put it through the computer and then it picks, their top 5 matches of who they should go date. And I mean, clearly Clay and Hannah are attempting to get each other, or maybe just actually being honest with themselves. And clearly they're kind of meant to be together. But yeah, they're both kind of, or at least we know Hannah is specifically aiming for one person in filling out this form. And even though she goes and gets it run through, she doesn't end up seeing him on there. I'm definitely very questioning about that, just the way that Sherry acts with that. And I think we're going to learn more about that in the future at some point, because I really don't see how Marcus and Hannah would have been compatible from their question answer, but I guess we'll have to see where that plays out. So Marcus is chosen, or I guess he steals someone else's or something, and yeah, he ends up giving Hannah a call. Sherry is pushing Hannah to go out to a date with him and, give him a shot, and Hannah's very resistant to it at first, and because she's trying to make friends, she's like, okay, Sherry, I'll go out with Marcus, whatever. And so yeah, she eventually kind of gives in, but only in front of Clay, right? She goes to the movie theater, they're working together. She didn't actually 100% accept Marcus's offer to go to Rosie's Diner for Valentine's Day, and so she's kind of hoping that Clay would ask him, and you can kind of see how she's leading the scene, yeah, did you fill out that Valentine's Day thing, right? And eventually she kind of just tries to make Clay jealous. At least that's the way I'm taking it. She goes over 20 feet away from him, looking at him the whole time, yeah, Marcus, I'll go on a date with you. And she's come on, Clay, just pick up on the signs. And he even goes wow, that was easy. And she's yep, sometimes it is. Back to the Alex stuff, it's kind of ruled because of the fact that it took place in the street and not in the actual school, that the honor board should kind of take care of this, and it kind of keeps the school kind of free from having any sort of issues pointing towards more bullying or something like that. So yeah, they sit down, and then all of the student honor council comes in. It's Marcus, Courtney, Sherry, Clay's on there too, and then a few other no-name people. But yeah, they end up pretty much having this council sit in on this little spat between these two, and they're trying to figure out, who deserves to be punished. And yeah, pretty much Mr. Porter's there as well, as well as the vice principal. And it's not a very substantive talk. They're just kind of arguing well, yeah, we fought in the street and he was going to run over people. And yeah, it's really just a back and forth with a lot lot of cursing involved, but then they're all kind of like, who's at fault? Who's at fault? And then Clay gives a beautiful answer of, maybe you're all at fault. Marcus is kind of taken aback by this, and he ends up staying late with Clay, and he's like, yo, man, are you all right? And he ends up trying to once again kind of bullshit his way out. He's like, you should really stop listening to those tapes, and, we're all in this together. And Clay just like kind of responds like, I thought you didn't listen to the tapes. I thought you didn't know what was on them. And obviously Marcus like can't get himself out of this, and he's like, this is a really big deal, right? There's litigation going on. There's going to be a trial. Like, this affects a ton of people, and I do like the way that Clay kind of just gives him the old middle finger. So with Clay in a distraught and vulnerable state, he is outside, and then Sherry kind of comes up to talk to him and says, they're just kind of chatting about nothing. And then eventually she's like, hey, I haven't finished this paper yet for this class. Do you think, like I probably should go do that now? And then eventually it kind of drags Clay into like, hey, why don't I come help you write it? I think he really just kind of wants to be able to hang out with someone or share his feelings or help someone out. And that's what he kind of ends up saying. And yeah, they end up going to Monet's to get coffee and work on this. But of course, Tony shows up, and this kind of scares Clay off. Also, I forgot to touch on the scene within Monet's where the one waitress, Sky, I think her name is, and yeah, she gives Clay a piece of her mind. I don't know if she's some sort of key in all of this. They brought her up twice, but she seems, obviously a little bit on the darker side, but I think her and Clay have a good, like, little back and forth there where she's like, I didn't think you would go out with Sherry, or I didn't think you were the cheerleader type. Maybe you could watch her try on clothes at Abercrombie & Fitch, and yeah, there was a lot of good lines in that, but yeah, Sky is definitely making me nervous. I don't know if she's like something's wrong with her, or maybe she really likes Clay and stuff, and that's why she's kind of maybe a little bit jealous. But yeah, just the way she kind of acts towards Clay in general during that scene was really weird. So Sherry and Clay decide to go to Clay's house to work on their project. And, they're just like hanging out, they're talking, and they do have some good conversations. I think Sherry might have just kind of barely missed the mark on a few of her lines. I don't think they were delivered quite as well as they could have been. I think at times I heard like a weird accent coming out too, but that's a minor gripe, guys. It's a minor gripe for a show that I have unlimited praise for. So yeah, they're having a conversation up in his bedroom, and then they kind of just, like start talking and stuff. And I can see Clay like trying to reach out emotionally. He needs someone, he needs like physical intimacy, not of like a pure sexual nature, just someone to like kind of hold him, hug him. And yeah, he's searching for that, and he thinks Sherry is a good person. So all this is happening. We are seeing this scene with Hannah. She basically, since she agreed to go with Marcus to Rosie's, she goes there on Valentine's Day, and Marcus, of course, pulls a dick move, just like the rest of these jocks have been this entire series. I don't know why I expect anything else from any of these kids, but yeah, he ends up showing up to Rosie's over an hour late, and to top it off, he comes with his squad. All of the jock friends are there. They're all wearing their Letterman jackets. I mean, it just looks ridiculous, and he walks in like with all 5 of these dudes, and yeah, I mean, come on, man, like have some class. You're going to keep a girl waiting for this long. And obviously his friends end up saying like this was part of the plan. Like if she waits this long, then she's clearly DTF. And I did love the one line where he's like, dude, like what does DTF mean? Just spell it out. Marcus ends up playing his super strong apology game where he's basically just trying to get Hannah to forgive him no matter what. And I mean, it's a total BS play. I do get that he cracks a few jokes or whatever, but you don't just show up an hour late to a date on Valentine's Day with no good reason. But oh, the boys, we were just hanging out and stuff. Come on, Marcus, you're ridiculous. He offers like buy her more milkshakes and fries and stuff. And eventually Hannah lets him sit down. She forgives him a little bit, and they're just like hanging out and talking, having a normal time. And Hannah's like, why did you bring your guys again? And Marcus like just kind of throws it off, makes a joke about it, and doesn't really answer the question. But as we learn later on, there's clearly something going on with this. On the flip side, we go back to Sherry and Clay, and they're kind of getting closer on the floor. They're like talking, and they're just, talking about kind of things about the book, I guess, that they're writing the report on. But yeah, they end up getting really close, talking about love and such. And then of course, they lean in, they start kissing. It gets a little bit heated there for a little while. And then like when things might be going a little bit more serious, Clay kind of loses it, right? He starts thinking about Hannah, or at least that's what I assume. And this kind of freaks Sherry out. She starts like crying on his bed. And I think that this is all BS, like kind of for Sherry. I mean, maybe she really is trying to verify that she's an okay person with Clay, but just the way that she's like, you should stop listening to those tapes. I don't want you to hear mine. I want you to think I'm still a good person. It comes off exactly like Marcus was with with Clay, saying like, just pass the tapes on, don't listen to them, you know, it's not, you don't need to worry about it, just pass on the tapes and then we can go from there. But I mean, I just feel so bad for Clay, right? He finally had this like physically intimate moment with a woman. I don't know if he's had one before, but yeah, he finally has this with Sherry, and then like kind of realizing like, oh my God, like, is she playing me right here? And he calls her out on it, and she gets even more emotional. I can't tell if that part is fake too. I really don't know what's fake and real with Sherry, and I think probably that's kind of the point. But yeah, he pretty much tells her like, get the hell out of here. I don't want to deal with you. I don't want to see you. And yeah, this must be extremely hard for Clay on top of all the other nonsense he's clearly dealing with. It's just, that was a lot to handle. Back at Rosie's diner, Marcus is still trying to play his games, and yeah, he eventually switches over to Hannah's side of the booth, like getting intimate and stuff. I find that extremely weird, especially on a first date. That's not what you do, but yeah, he ends up getting in the booth with her, and he like starts getting really close. He was being cuter earlier. He was like rubbing her knuckle and stuff, like when they were holding a milkshake together a little bit, but yeah, it's just, I could tell as soon as he got up and moved over to the other side of the booth, I was like, this is not gonna go anywhere good. And yeah, he pretty much like leans over his shoulder and like looks back at his boys right before he starts like putting his hand on her thigh and like moving it up and down a little bit. And she's like, what are you doing? Like, dude, Marcus, get off me, stop, I don't want this, like, please stop. And then she eventually freaks out, shouts at him, pushes him out of the booth exactly like he deserves, exactly like he should be, and then he stands up and just shouts at her. I mean, he looked like really scary there, and she's like physically taken aback. She like hides over in the corner a little bit, and yeah, pretty much he storms out, like leaves her there, and all of the other guys get up and leave with Marcus, and she is pretty much so embarrassed, which I totally understand. She's so embarrassed she can't even get out of the seat. As per usual, I love the way they end this episode. They have, you know, like Miss Baker and stuff. She's staring out into space. And I do love the bits between the Bakers this episode. They're like kind of fighting with each other on how they want to fight the school or if they want to keep going. And Miss Baker keeps bringing up like, I need to know why. And I don't blame her at all. If my kid did something like this, I would need to know the exact reason why. Like just saying like, oh, it happens, some kids are sad or whatever, that wouldn't be good enough for me either. So I can totally identify with that. And just the end scene where you see Clay laying in bed and then Hannah laying in bed and she's describing these events. And yeah, man, this show is just like absolutely amazing at ending these episodes. It just makes me want to watch the next one so much more. And yeah, I got to give them props on this. The ending soundtrack, again, just flat out phenomenal. Well, guys, that is pretty much it for me. I will not be able to do any more of these reviews until I get back next week. I'm sorry, but my girlfriend and I have to go finish renovating our home that we bought elsewhere. And yeah, I'm going to be traveling, so I'm just not going to be able to do any reviews for a week. And I do apologize for that, but I will send another notification out on Twitter for you guys. So let me know your thoughts down below. What did you guys think of this episode? Do you guys like it? Do you guys still enjoy this story so far? I'm in. Like, I am strapped in, like ready to go. This show has me like leaning every single episode, needing to know what's gonna happen next. And yeah, I absolutely love it. I can't praise this show enough. The acting, besides maybe a few of Sherry's lines, was really good still. And the visuals, I mean, I don't even need to compliment on that. You guys know that as well. But yeah, subscribe to us here on YouTube if you guys like these reviews and you guys want to check out a bunch of our other content here on OBB. We do Game of Thrones, Westworld, The Expanse, Big Little Lies. We do a ton of stuff. So yeah, go check out the rest of our content here, and then like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you hated it for some reason, and until next time, guys, we'll see you soon.